on! Seriously, give me the poster.
I don't know, Mikey. Word on the street is you're a rat.
Yeah, we don't do business with rats.
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're taking a look at 10 things kids today will never truly understand about gaming in the 90s. Enjoy your luxuries now, kiddos. It wasn't easy back in the old days. Before we begin, we publish new videos all week long, so be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Try before you buy. Admittedly, demos are still a thing today. Steam often promotes upcoming games that have demos available in their Steam Next Fest events. PlayStation, on the other hand, locks them behind their subscription service on PlayStation Plus. Classy. But back in the 90s, we had the pleasure of obtaining demo discs that contained small slices of upcoming games. This practice would carry on for another 2 generations after this, but there was something special about PS1 demo discs. From the intro videos to behind-the-scenes looks at game development and convention floors, to even secret trailers, you always got a good taste of what was coming to the console through interactive CD samplers, Jam Pack, and PlayStation Underground. Simply downloading a demo just isn't the same as these compilations were.
Testing a video game's a difficult thing to do.
Fun in our pocket. Handheld gaming has sort of been phased out of the gaming space. Yes, we do have the Switch, the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally, and the PlayStation Portal, among many others. However, none of this was real handheld gaming. Back in the 90s, we had Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and, well, that was about it. Not too many kids with Neo Geo Pockets or Sega Game Gears. And the technology at the time was ultra limited. Many games that were coming out lasted about 30 to 60 minutes on average, but damn, did these consoles have a crazy battery life. A Game Boy Color could run up to 10 hours, almost 5 times the battery life of a PS5 controller. Yes, we are aware the system was doing less than what DualSense is doing, but still, you got way more game time out of it without being tethered to a cable back then. However, it is worth mentioning that if you got too negligent on the charge, you did have to wind up being tethered to a cable, at least up against the wall, next to a plug outlet. Oh, those were the days. Time for a shopping spree!
At Circuit City's Memorial Day weekend. Like this VCR with remote, just $144.97.
Today it's almost hard to find a good video game store. GameStop only ever sells new games and sidelines older titles to their online store, and many retro game stores have unfortunately had to close due to the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020. And most folks now buy games from online stores or third-party sellers on sites like eBay or Mercari. Back in the day, there were 5 key stores everyone went to for their games: Circuit City, Best Buy, GameStop, EB Games, or the motherlode, Toys R Us. Toys R Us was a huge deal in the gaming space, as some companies would have the retail chain distribute promo videos for upcoming games. And if you weren't buying games, you were most likely heading to Blockbuster or Hollywood Video to rent them. Even though it was a somewhat niche market at the time, it at least felt like nerds were getting some assortment of options to go buy our games at.
Wreak more havoc with the hand cannon. Get it when you pre-order Rise of the Tomb Raider only at GameStop. Play, trade, save, repeat. Rated M for mature.
Playing with limited power.
Hey, Einstein, I'm on your side. Boats behind you. Am I getting slow?
At one point, it was kind of tough to learn every secret, glitch, exploit, strategy, and what have you in a single game. Sure, you could always resort to the manual, but to get help, you had to almost actively seek it. Nintendo once had helplines where you could call a phone number and ask for assistance if you ever got stuck in a game. These agents would have full charts of maps and secrets to point you towards, almost a total X-ray at the ready for players who might be stuck. You could also go out and buy strategy guides or subscribe to gaming magazines that might have cheat codes for various games hidden inside. And if you couldn't afford any of the aforementioned options, you just had to trust whatever word of mouth came your way. Nowadays, every secret is spilled the second a game drops. There's just no more surprises anymore. When games attack.
No, it cannot be.
Now, this is one aspect of 90s gaming that we do not miss whatsoever. I'm speaking from personal experience. If you didn't watch my Crash Warped review from a few years ago when we were doing retro review, I actually nearly hurt myself with a D-pad. Honestly, we have it so good today with controllers that have the right amount of pressure to execute inputs and fit comfortably within our hands. What was so bad about controllers in the 90s? Well, have you held an N64 controller? The analog stick on that thing was able to cut up people's palms if they played Mario Party. As for the PS1 controller, the D-pads were so rigid and hard that it could cause blisters. Gaming hurt back in the day. We're glad kids will never have to choose whether to finish Crash Bandicoot or wimp out because of potential hand trauma, but good lord, thumbs of steel were developed from that age. Saving lives, gouging prices. Saving required more effort on the player's part than games require today. We are so lucky to have autosaves in almost every game we play, and many games even give the option to manually save if we really want to. But in the 90s, most games did not have such luxuries. The ability to save your game was often delegated to specific checkpoints. So, if mom and dad were getting ready to drag you to the mall or some family cookout, you had two options. 1. Rush all the way back to the last checkpoint you remember, or 2. Suffer, power off your game, and prepare to redo whatever progress you lost before the last checkpoint. Needless to say, this could be super annoying at times. And yes, you could go and grab a memory card, if only they were more widely available back then. Many forget that there was an era where PS1 memory cards were hard to come by. It was pretty bad back then.
Welcome to Town Square, Spyro.
Being the weird kids. It is kind of weird to us how video games have become such a widely accepted hobby these days. Sure, there are still some stragglers who think games are toys, they're for children, they cause violence, and gamers are basement dwellers. However, that kind of thinking was much more common back in the 90s. Parents and educators often looked down upon playing video games, often calling it a waste of time. Politicians were at the ready to get games banned and argued about how it incites criminal behavior without any concrete evidence outside of specific anecdotes. And if any kid found out you played video games, you were sometimes treated worse than how D&D nerds were treated back in the 80s. Nowadays, you just get picked on for playing certain types of games or simply owning a particular console. Different reasons for mockery, all trivial to a ridiculous degree. The times have changed and yet they haven't. I'd like to buy this game, please.
Right, over 10,000 videos. 3 evening rentals, so no rush, no hassle. Fast checkout, 24-hour quick drop return, open late every night.
We know we already talked about game stores a little bit ago. However, we want to focus on something more pressing in the modern world: availability. The 1990s didn't have the options to buy games digitally. Every game was only ever released physically, forever preserved unless the cartridge or disc was battered and broken. You want the game? Go to the store and buy it off the shelf. These days, physical games are coming in fewer and fewer batches as digital sales grow ever more. Physical copies are now becoming a rarity, and it has been having an effect on game preservation. A game can easily get delisted and become lost to time if something as simple as a copyrighted song pulls its license from the developers.
At the world's biggest video game store.
Back to basics. An obvious difference in 90s gaming is in the technology. Online gaming didn't have as much prominence back then, and even on PC, it was a bit of a hassle to set up an online game. As for VR gaming, that was a pipe dream that could only be experienced at a place like Disney Quest, a video game amusement park that featured a VR Aladdin game you and your friends could compete in. Speaking of pipe dreams, motion controls and touchscreens weren't brought to fruition yet. But you want to know what's really depressing? There are kids today who don't even recognize a game controller because they've been playing games that utilize touchscreen controls. Room for experimentation. Perhaps we're looking through rose-tinted glasses, but the era of Nintendo 64 and PS1 was a time of creativity. Not every game was a surefire hit, but saturation was definitely under control. Developers were trying all kinds of neat ideas, playing with hardware in various ways from the controller to pushing technical limits to simply trying new concepts for games. Let me put it this way, you are never going to see a game like Vibribbon, Intelligent Cube, or Parappa the Rapper in the 2020s, and if you do, it's most likely coming from an indie developer, not Sony, not Activision, not Xbox, maybe not even Nintendo. Say what you will about some 90s classics not aging good. Looking at the biggest titles of that decade, they definitely seem more interesting than the abundance of live service games we've been subjected to in recent days. But enough of me rambling, what do you think was the best or worst aspect about 90s gaming? Let us know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to MojoPlays for more great videos every day.